One family, one father, one son, one scheme to win it all. Why run in one party when you can run in two? The further adventures of the Switch Family Robinson.
Early morning update, Paul Lindman in Scotland. That from a Peter DeFazio campaign commercial after Matt Robinson, a 24-year-old graduate student, files as a Democratic candidate for the U.S. House in the 4th District, Peter's district. His father, Republican Art Robinson, lost to DeFazio in 2010. And Congressman Peter DeFazio joins us from Springfield, Oregon this morning. Congressman, just when you thought politics couldn't get any weirder, what are you thinking?
Well, it's pretty strange. I mean, even Republicans, the chair of the Douglas County Republican Party said she didn't understand what the value was in this. But Art, who will be the Republican nominee in the fall, is heavily promoting his son's Democratic candidacy through his Republican campaign and through his campaign manager, who, of course, is the brother of his son. So it's kind of a family affair.
What could possibly be accomplished? I mean, you're the longtime incumbent. You're not going to get knocked off in the Democratic primary by a 24-year-old graduate student. So what's the point?
Well, it may be they're going to try and bring in the Wall Street super PAC to attack me in the primary and try and get me to spend money. Remember, in the fall 2 years ago, one guy on Wall Street named Bob Mercer runs 3 hedge funds. Spent $650,000 in addition to being a maximum contributor, and his daughters were maximum contributors, and his dog was a maximum contributor to Art. So this one guy, and he's been putting a lot of money into Art over the years. Maybe he's going to get into the primary with a new PAC, for young Americans, for Matthew Robinson, for Democrat.
Congressman, the Oregonian, in an article last week, reported it's clear there's a high level of animus between DeFazio and the Robinson family. Is there?
Well, he's a pretty nasty individual, if I can just be real straight about it. He talks about, calls me a socialist, a communist. He says I'm destroying America, that I'm, acting against the interests of my district. He talks a lot about slavery. He calls me a despicable liar when I read to him quotes from his own newsletter. I mean, he has campaigned for 15 years before he ran for Congress to abolish all public schools, and he starts screaming at me that I'm a liar. And then I read him another quote where he says, readers of my newsletter for many years have seen, that my position that we should abolish all public schools. It calls it taxpayer finance socialism, extracted at the point of a gun, and says, that if these institutions were abolished within 6 months, the private sector would provide better schools to all Americans, and if you didn't have the money to pay for it, it would be free. Pretty, out there stuff. But when I read it to him, he calls me a liar. I don't lie.
The younger Robinson says that's why he's running. Lots of lies. He points to your statement on Rachel Maddow's show that his dad, Art Robinson, lived in a survivalist compound, and he doesn't. You say what?
Well, that's what their neighbors say. Art does have a book called With Enough Shovels, which he handed out widely when he moved to Josephine County, which is a survivalist screed. He was one of his sons was a big article in American Prospect about Art, featured on the front page, home practicing the piano, wearing a 45. And then there's the electrician I ran into, said that it was pretty weird. Comes to the locked gate, the kids come up with guns and escort him around while he's doing his work, and the neighbors say it's a survivalist compound. The kid says it's a sheep ranch, and the father says it's an institute of science that surpasses Oregon State and the University of Oregon in studying the beneficial effects of radiation on humans.
Congressman Peter DeFazio, thanks for talking to us. We'll leave it there for now. And for the record, a lot of our listeners think this show doesn't have enough shovels either. Thank you, sir.